Mr. President, kia ora, welcome to New Zealand, and thank you for your time. Can you just tell us what is the purpose of your visit here?
Well, let me start a little bit broadly. We are living in a world where we see confrontation between democracies and different kinds of autocracies on the other side. And I believe that this time requires all democratic countries, wherever they are, to cooperate much more closely, to be much more united in their responses to our counterparts who do not wish democracy well, and that's why we believe it's not only important, but I would say even vital for democracies in North America, Europe, Middle East, but also here in Asia to work together. Moreover, the last official visit at the level of president happened almost 30 years ago. So I believed it was the right time to come to the region to express not only our solidarity where we face the same challenges, but also to express our openness and will to do more trade, more cooperation in education, in research, and also in people-to-people contacts.
You say the liberal democratic order is under threat. What specifically gives you cause for concern?
Well, we saw after the aggression of Russia against Ukraine that not only the democratic world got together to respond to this violation of international law, but also our opponents. Russia is now very much linked to China, to North Korea, to Iran. All these countries are providing support to Russia. They are also trying to increase and potentially reinforce BRICS groupings by new members, making it a counterbalance against the democratic world. So it is quite clear that we need to respond to this effort by also getting closer.
Why should a country like New Zealand care?
New Zealand has a great track record of being in a very high solidarity with the countries with the same values, not just the Commonwealth, but also all democratic countries. We all remember places like Gallipoli and the fields of Flanders, and then the battlefields of the Second World War, where soldiers from this part of the world, regardless the geographical distance, brought the highest sacrifice for common values. And that's why I believe we should be now in a solidarity with all democratic countries that are under pressure and under violation of international law, wherever it is. Because the problems in Europe will have a direct effect on security and prosperity here in Indo-Pacific and vice versa. We saw disruption of all of the chain of trade and commodities globally. If anything happens in this region, for example, in the South China Sea, we will see immediate effect on economies globally. So we should care what is going on the other side of the globe.
As the former chair of the NATO Military Committee, how do you assess the state of the war in Ukraine?
Well, it looks like a stalemate, but just a little bit in favor of Russia at this point. Russia is taking initiative almost along the whole line of contact. Russia was able to consolidate its industry and military and to launch offensive operations that lead to acquiring new ground day by day. Not as significant, but there is a progress, let's say, square kilometers a day. But at the same time, we see a growing support, especially material support and financial support to Ukraine. because democratic world and all other countries supporting Ukraine as a matter of principle see that allowing Russia to prevail in Ukraine would mean that not only Russia but also other countries supporting Ukraine would be inspired by Russian approach, and they would take much more assertive, if not aggressive, stance in their regions. We see China watching very closely all the development of war in Ukraine, all the reactions, delays in reactions on our side, and they are learning. And that's why I believe we not only have to remain united, we have to stay firm in our positions, especially in a position of principle that aggressor cannot be rewarded for aggression by getting the ground and getting some concessions from those who actually were attacked.
How will Donald Trump's election change the dynamics in the war?
It's quite clear that almost all the parties were waiting for the elections in the United States as a kind of a turning point. If these expectations were real or not, only time will show, but he provides a convenient point where some change may occur, being it initiated in the United States or elsewhere, but just the moment of change is an opportunity. Russia was waiting for Donald Trump, hoping that they would be able to strike a deal. And I believe that even Ukraine was waiting for some change to come, because not all support they got was assessed as timely and sufficient. But Donald Trump has come up even before the elections with the idea that he would resolve the war within 24 hours, which obviously is very optimistic. We see that some proposals coming from people around Donald Trump are already at the table, but are assessed by Russia as insufficient. So Russia would be definitely pushing on getting more concessions from the United States and from the West. On our side, we should be realistic that the conditions are not there to push all the Russian forces from Ukraine, from all the occupied territories. It would simply cost too many Ukrainian lives, because we can provide them with military equipment, we can provide them with material support, with finances, but we cannot provide them with manpower. And that's now the limit. And that's why I believe it's time for serious negotiations, how to start the hostilities, how to start the peace process, how to lead it in a way that in the end there is a just peace for Ukraine. And even though part of Ukraine may be temporarily occupied, it shouldn't stop the West to integrate Ukraine into security and economic structures, because it is their right to determine their own future, and Russia shouldn't have any veto over Ukraine's future.
I will ask you about those negotiations in a moment. I wondered, from your perspective and experience in the military, what would be the outcome if the United States were to stop arming Ukraine?
I say it would be very swift defeat of Ukraine. The United States are providing the biggest bulk of military support. Europe's support is significant, but without US support, the inflow of material and ammunition and other support to Ukraine will simply not be enough to withstand the pressure of Russia, supported by all those I mentioned before. So that would definitely mean a significant change in the development of war.
So you said you think the time for negotiations is now, do you accept that Ukraine will have to give up annexed territory to Russia in order to end the war?
I believe this is the idea that even President Zelensky has adopted in a way. He understands that realistically there is very little chance that there can be any turn within the war that would push Russian forces out of Ukrainian territory. So they understand that at least for some time part of the territory may remain occupied. But what should be very clear that it's not a permanent concession of territory to Russia, as Russia wants it to be. It is just accepting the fact that we cannot push Ukraine into winning their territory back by military means, because that would mean a disaster for Ukraine, especially for their people, because it's unfortunately Ukrainians who are dying day by day. For us, it may be an issue of principle. For them, it's an issue of survival.
Is there any way, through negotiations, for Ukraine to maintain an ability to join NATO as part of a peace deal?
I'm truly convinced that every nation should have the right to determine its own future, including Ukraine. Even though they live in a very dangerous neighborhood, it doesn't mean that they should be deprived of any right that other nations have. Actually, Czechoslovakia and later Czech Republic was in the same situation a couple of decades ago, and we wouldn't be happy if someone was granted a veto over our future. Obviously, there needs to be an interest on both sides. That means on the side of Ukraine as well as NATO allies. But I believe that in the future, being it near or midterm, Ukraine will eventually become a member of NATO. But obviously, it was always conditions-based. A nation needs to meet a number of criteria to be in a position to join. And of course, it takes time. Now, Ukraine being shattered by war, military is in a war state, and it would have to consolidate. So even if there is a will on both sides, it will take years. But I believe that what we should say is a principle that Russia will not determine if Ukraine will eventually become a member of NATO or not. It will be an issue between Ukraine and NATO. And when Russia raises their concerns about regional security, about security guarantees, it shouldn't be linked uniquely to Ukraine. We should discuss with Russia European security in terms of general security from North Sea to Black Sea, about the presence of forces along the border, about the exercises. We should discuss new treaties about conventional weapons, nuclear weapons, disarmament. These are all overdue, and I believe that this is the area to which we should put most of our attention. And Ukraine is just a subset of this broader security issue.
Why should we think that Vladimir Putin would agree to a peace deal which potentially allows Ukraine to join NATO?
I believe that probably the strongest argument on Russian side is that they feel threatened by NATO ever expanding eastwards. And they always refer to the alleged promise from the West not to expand NATO eastwards. But what I was always telling to Russian counterparts when they were still present in Brussels, that it was not NATO aggressively expanding to the east. It was the countries that were released from Soviet control. They desperately wanted to join these structures. That means that NATO, EU were an attractive option for them. If Russia was attractive, that would probably draw these nations to Russia. So I think it's up to you to be more attractive, to draw more people, more nations to your proximity, and not vice versa. For Vladimir Putin, I believe it would be important to discuss this broad security arrangement in Europe, including guarantees, including building confidence, coming up with new measures, because that is what matters for Russia, not so much if a single country, even though that big as Ukraine, will or will not become a member of NATO.
Ukrainian ammunition supplies have been vastly outnumbered by Russia, and the Czech Republic has been instrumental in sourcing and purchasing artillery shells for Ukraine this year. How is that effort going?
Well, we saw a great lack of ammunition and military equipment to Ukraine. One reason was that not all the countries from our side of Europe had at their disposal Soviet legacy equipment that was readily available to Ukraine that they would use from the first moment because they knew it. And also it was a slow response on the side of the EU when delivering ammunition as it was promised by Josep Borrell. Czech Republic had a lot of contacts with countries that still own Soviet legacy equipment and ammunition. We had the tools how to do it, but we didn't have sufficient resources. So we started discussion with our partners from NATO, primarily from Denmark, Netherlands, later on Canada, and later on with many more. To combine their will to help Ukraine with financial resources, with our capacity to acquire it, and in a triangle with this donor country and Ukraine, we managed to acquire ammunition in third countries. Not all of them wanted to be named from different reasons. Some of them had close ties with Russia. Some of them simply didn't want to be mentioned as assisting Ukraine. But in fact, the whole arrangement was very transparent for all of the sides, so that they know what kind of ammunition, at what cost. The whole process was transparent to donors. And we managed to deliver to Ukraine within a couple of months 500,000 rounds of 155 millimeter ammunition, with prospect of delivering more next year if necessary, because the arrangement is there, and if there is still goodwill on the side of all the parties, this process will go on.
What specifically do you want from New Zealand to assist with that effort?
Well, I believe that New Zealand is doing what it can, because your country is supporting Ukraine from the very beginning. First by condemning Russian aggression, taking clear stances at multinational fora, the UN and elsewhere, assisting Ukraine physically with financial assistance, material assistance, but also by training. So I believe that there is hardly anything more that your country can do. And I believe that not only Ukraine, but also all other allies in NATO appreciate the position that you take.
We're 6 weeks from the presidential inauguration in the US. What worries you? What is the worst case scenario for how that conflict could progress in the coming months?
The worst case scenario would be a lack of our support, say fading support, both material, financial and political, and leaving Russia enough room for their offensive actions. Because that would most probably lead to a defeat of Ukraine and strengthening self-confidence on the side of Russia and all those supporting Russia. And that's why I believe it is for us a matter of principle not to allow such a scenario to happen.
The Centre for Research on Energy and Clean Air has found that the Czech Republic has spent about 5 times more on Russian oil and gas than it has on aid to Ukraine since the start of this conflict. Are there lessons there about energy security that other countries should take?
I believe that we have all learned the lesson from this war vis-à-vis diversification of our trade, our industries, but also our partnerships. We all realize that unilateral dependency on any country is simply potentially dangerous. And that's why not only Czech Republic, but also all other countries in Europe, but also New Zealand, are trying now to diversify their trade, economic cooperation, and also defense cooperation. So I believe that's the trend that we all now follow. That is also one of the reasons why I am here. To open the door for bigger trade, for bigger cooperation among our businesses, but also opening more door for cooperation in education, research, because these are the areas where we have the same interest. We focus on areas with more technologically advanced industries with higher added value, such as aerospace, energy, renewables, but also medical industry and defense. These are all areas where we can share, and I believe that we will see concrete products in the weeks and months to come.
What are the lessons that New Zealand can take from the conflict in Ukraine when applying that to the security situation in the Pacific?
I would say that probably the most important lesson is in relationship and alliances. That's why I very much welcome that NATO was active in enhancing links with IP4 partners that are now regularly invited to NATO summits, but also to the ministerial meetings. Coordination is crucial because we have to collectively understand the global impact of security issues wherever they happen. We need, in our part of the world, to better understand the dynamics here in Indo-Pacific, because there are still some countries in Europe who consider China only as an economic partner. But of course, we have to look at China as a country that has different values, different foundations, but also different strategic interests. And it is absolutely fair to do business with China, but we always have to be vigilant about what China is doing in different parts of the world, because China as well as Russia are quite clear in their aspirations to be dominant powers. And dominant powers that would design the rules of the game. And I believe that we want to live in a world where rules matter, but rules that are not imposed, but agreed.
Our traditional security partners are the likes of Australia, the UK and the United States. But aligning too closely with those countries risks our relationship with China, which is comfortably New Zealand's largest trading partner. How would you recommend a country like New Zealand decides between those priorities?
It's a problem of being in between two millstones. But well, I would say we should all collectively call on China to meet the other side of a coin of being a global actor of first class. That means not only having all the benefits, but also all the responsibilities. And I did that recently when I was talking to UN Security Council And I called on China to take that responsibility, to play a much more active role in resolving problems in Ukraine and Middle East and elsewhere. Because this is what powers should do. And we should always be aware that China is in many ways a superpower, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't play in accordance with the rules. Because even China doesn't want the world in chaos. Because if China wants business, and I believe they want global business to run smoothly, then conflicts go strictly against that interest. So I really don't see a great difficulty in being a global superpower, but also being responsible. But for that, we need to create a sufficient balance. That's why I believe it is necessary for all global democracies to work together and hopefully to agree on a lowest common denominator of policy vis-à-vis China, so that China respect us as a partner the same way as we respect China as a partner. So any change in rules should be negotiated, agreed, and then respected. And that would create an environment where both China and we will not only feel safe, but also comfortable with our own systems, because no one wants to change system in China. If it works for Chinese people, that's fine. But we shouldn't try to change each other's system or create a disbalance that would lead to conflict.
Finally then, Mr. President, I'm not sure if it has come across your radar, but New Zealand is debating joining AUKUS Pillar 2, which is essentially a security deal between the US, the UK, Australia. Would you recommend, given the changing dynamics in the Indo-Pacific, that New Zealand joins that Pillar 2?
I believe that if New Zealand decides to do so, it will not change anything on your ongoing status of a country that is promoting non-nuclear Indo-Pacific, because it's not about nuclear weapons. It is about just nuclear power as an engine. But at the same time, there will be probably debate not only in Australia but in other countries about nuclear energy, because it seems that nuclear energy will be a part of our energy mix in the future. My country will have to rely on nuclear at least from 1/3 of our consumption, even in the long term. Many other European countries will do the same. I think being part of, let's say, non-military use of nuclear power is definitely not something that would harm the position of New Zealand. It is obviously up to New Zealand to decide, but from our point of view, we don't see any difficulty in that.
Mr. President, we really appreciate you giving us your time. Enjoy the rest of your time in New Zealand.
Thank you very much.